Thanks for checking us out here at Geekville Radio on YouTube. If you don't mind, give us a like and a subscribe. What if I told you that some of the most iconic actors in Doctor Who history also visited a galaxy far, far away? We're not talking one or two people. We are talking nearly 20 actors who showed up in both franchises, some in huge roles you definitely remember, and some hiding in plain sight that might blow your mind. And two of them are doctors themselves. Stick around because here are 19 actors that have been in both Star Wars and Doctor Who, and one who breaks the rules. And those last three, they might make your head explode. Number 1, Peter Serafinowicz. You might not recognize the name, but you absolutely know this guy's work. In front of the camera, he may be most seen in the Guardians of the Galaxy. He also played the Tick in the Amazon live-action series. He's in the John Wick movies, lent his voice to The Simpsons, video games. The man's everywhere in geek culture. For Doctor Who, he voiced the terrifying Fisher King in the 2015 Peter Capaldi story Before the Flood.
You will be a strong beacon.
But his Star Wars connection? You've heard it thousands of times.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
Peter Serafinowicz was the voice of Darth Maul. Ray Park was the face and the body, but those 5 chilling lines in The Phantom Menace, that was Peter. And really, 5 lines might have been all that Darth Maul needed. Number 2, John Hollis. Let's play a game. Name an actor who in 1980 alone appeared in Superman 2, For Your Eyes Only, Flash Gordon, and The Empire Strikes Back. Top that one for geek cred. That's John Hollis. And that is a ridiculous year for any actor. Doctor Who fans know him as Professor Sondergaard in the John Pertwee story The Mutants from 1972, which also has another crossover actor that we will get to later. Star Wars fans know him as Lobot in The Empire Strikes Back, Lando Calrissian's silent, cybernetically enhanced right-hand man with an iconic headset wrapped around his skull. No lines, but total presence. Number 3, George Rubicek. Here is one that flies completely under the radar. George Rubicek is an Austrian character actor with an incredible resume. 2 separate James Bond films. He's been in The Saint and The Avengers. This man was a fixture of 60s and 70s British genre television. In Doctor Who, he played Captain Hopper in the beloved Patrick Troughton classic Tomb of the Cybermen. In Star Wars, he has an uncredited scene in A New Hope as Commander Pragi. His voice is actually dubbed over in post-production, but he is there on screen. Blink and you'll miss him, but you never unsee it. Number 4, Michael Sheard. This one is a personal favorite, and once I tell you his resume, you'll understand why. Michael Sheard was one of the most prolific British character actors of his generation. He played Hitler coming face-to-face with Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. Yes, Indy got Hitler's autograph. That was Michael Sheard. Now, Doctor Who, the man appeared in 6 separate Doctor Who stories across 5 different doctors. In 1966, he was in the William Hartnell story, The Ark. He was on the John Pertwee story, The Mind of Evil, in 1971. He did Doctor Who twice with Tom Baker, 1975's Pyramids of Mars and 1977's The Invisible Enemy. In 1981, he was in Castrovalva with Peter Davison, and finally he was in the 1988 Sylvester McCoy story, Remembrance of the Daleks. Like John Hollis, he had a small but very memorable role in The Empire Strikes Back. He portrayed Admiral Ozzel, who was famously choked to death by Darth Vader in front of his replacement, Captain Piet. Number 5, Garrick Hagan. Here's another one with serious franchise range. One of his most seen cameos was as a mugging victim in the opening moments of 1989's Batman. Like John Hollis, Hagan was in the 1972 John Pertwee story, The Mutants. He played one of the main heroes, Kai. He was also in the 2012 Matt Smith story, A Town Called Mercy. This makes him one of the few actors who worked on both a classic and modern version of the show. Hagan and his impressive mustache starred as Luke Skywalker's childhood friend Biggs Darklighter in A New Hope. In the original version, he only appeared during a climactic Death Star attack just long enough to get blown up by Darth Vader. But for the 1997 special edition, a scene was added of him chatting with Luke on Yavin before flying into battle. Scenes shot on Tatooine meant for the beginning of the film were never included in any official edit. Number 6, Hugh Corshi. In the David Tennant story Daleks in Manhattan, Corshi played Solomon, an enigmatic leader of a less fortunate group of freedom fighters. And here's a bonus fun fact. That same episode featured a young Andrew Garfield, future Spider-Man, putting on an American Southern accent. It's worth watching for that alone.
Hello, I'm Tennessee Cornbread.
His highest profile role was probably in The Phantom Menace as Captain Panaka. While Panaka may not have been the most optimistic ally, as he often disagreed with Jedi Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi,
I do not agree with the Jedi on this.
There is little doubt that he was very good at his job. Number 7, Julian Glover. Now, here's a name serious film fans will absolutely know. Julian Glover is no stranger to genre roles. Game of Thrones fans saw him as Grandmaster Pycelle. He portrayed the main antagonist in Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, which coincidentally co-starred fellow Imperial officer Michael Sheard. Glover is another actor who appeared in multiple Doctor Who stories. He played the heroic Richard the Lionheart in the William Hartnell story The Crusades. Glover also had a villainous role in Scaroth, the main antagonist of the 1979 Tom Baker story, City of Death, one of the most critically acclaimed stories in the show's entire history. Like Sheard, Glover was briefly seen in The Empire Strikes Back. The name General Veers was bellowed by Darth Vader himself, but he did have the famous moment telling Vader the ComScan had detected an energy field right before Vader force-choked his Indiana Jones co-star, which is a sentence I love that I get to say. Number 8's a doozy, David Prowse. David Prowse was a bodybuilder in his youth and befriended Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno long before either was a household name. In 1974, 3 years before Star Wars, he appeared with his future Star Wars co-star Peter Cushing in Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. While his face was covered in a costume, Prowse did appear in the 1972 John Pertwee story, The Time Monster, as the Minotaur, which is fitting because his most famous role also required a mask. Because you see, David Prowse was the body of Darth Vader. The physicality, the presence, the imposing silhouette that defined movie villainy for a generation, that was David Prowse. James Earl Jones provided the voice, but Prowse was the presence. And if you search for on-set footage with Prowse's actual voice, it's genuinely surreal.
Start tearing this ship apart piece by piece until you find those tapes. Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive!
Number 9, Jeremy Bulloch. Before he was Boba Fett, Jeremy Bulloch spent years doing stage work and British television comedy. Seriously, comedy was a big part of his career, which makes it all the more remarkable that he was one of the most feared characters in the galaxy. But first, Doctor Who. Bulloch appeared in 2 classic stories. He played Tor in the William Hartnell story The Space Museum, which is not the best story, but it is probably most memorable for a scene where William Hartnell hides inside a Dalek, which, yeah, is funny as it sounds. And he played Hal the Archer in the John Pertwee story The Time Warrior, a legitimately important story. It was the first appearance of the Sontarans, the first mention of Gallifrey by name, and the debut of Elizabeth Sladen playing arguably the most beloved companion in Doctor Who history, Sarah Jane Smith. But back to Boba Fett. Introduced in the 1978 holiday special, yes, that holiday special, and brought to full life in The Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett became iconic with almost no screen time and almost zero dialogue. Obviously, Boba Fett is Bulloch's signature role, but he also appeared unmasked in The Empire Strikes Back as an Imperial officer, and he was even seen in the prequels as well, playing a Republic captain in Revenge of the Sith. So that puts him on yet another list as actors who have had multiple roles in Star Wars. Number 10, Leslie Schofield has an impressive number of film and TV shows to his credit, including the long-running roles in EastEnders and Johnny Briggs. In the 1977 Tom Baker story, The Face of Evil, Schofield is credited as Caleb. He can be seen in the background in this clip while Tom Baker is being Tom Baker. Schofield played Chief Bast in Star Wars A New Hope. He had a few short scenes interacting with Vader and Tarkin, but the most famous is this one where he asks Tarkin if he wants to evacuate the Death Star. Number 11, Aisha Darker. Darker played Solana Mercurio in the David Tennant story The Planet of Ood. In Attack of the Clones, Darker played Amidala's successor as Queen of Naboo, Jamilia. She shared Amidala's belief in peace over war. Number 12, Felicity Jones. Felicity Jones was a child actor who appeared in several TV series in the 1990s and early 2000s. In movies, she played Felicia Hardy, a.k.a. Black Cat, in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. For Doctor Who, she appeared in the 2008 David Tennant story The Unicorn and the Wasp, which was a love letter to Agatha Christie murder mysteries. And of course, in 2016, she led one of the most beloved Star Wars fan films of the modern era as Jyn Erso in Rogue One, the rebel who stole the Death Star plans and gave the galaxy its first real hope. Number 13, Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg's resume is a collection of geek titles. He made his name in comedy and satire with films like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. Pegg joined the cast of J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek reboot as Montgomery Scott, a.k.a. Scotty. Pegg played an antagonist called the Editor in the Christopher Eccleston story The Long Game. Pegg provided the voice of Dengar in the Clone Wars, which also puts him on a list of actors in both Star Wars and Star Trek, but that's a list for another day. While his face was hidden, Pegg portrayed and did the voice of Unkar Plutt in The Force Awakens. Number 14, Warwick Davis. Warwick Davis is one of the great constants of geek culture. If you've ever seen him at a convention, you know exactly how much he genuinely loves all of this. Beyond Star Wars, he is the title character in the Leprechaun franchise and played multiple roles in the Harry Potter films. As for Doctor Who, he played the gloriously eccentric Emperor Porridge in the Matt Smith story Nightmare in Silver, which was written by comic legend Neil Gaiman. And in Star Wars, his story starts at age 11 when he played Wicket in Return of the Jedi. He has since appeared in The Phantom Menace, Solo, and the sequel trilogy in a variety of roles. So that means Warwick Davis has been part of this franchise for over 40 years. Respect to a living legend. Number 15, Brian Blessed. If you know Brian Blessed, you know that his voice alone could probably destroy a small building. A classically trained Shakespearean actor, he's perhaps most beloved for playing Prince Voltan in the 1980 Flash Gordon film.
Gordon's a nine.
A performance of such magnificent excess that it has never been topped. In Doctor Who, he played King Yakarnos in the Colin Baker story The Ultimate Foe, a character who, and I need you to understand this happened, killed and then married the Doctor's companion Perry, in that order. Not sure I understand it either, but it's Brian Blessed, so I'll let it slide. Of course, in The Phantom Menace, he provided the booming voice of Boss Nass, the leader of the Gungans, who made decrees by enthusiastically spraying spit on everything in his vicinity. Again, very Brian Blessed. Number 16, Lindsay Duncan. Lindsay Duncan has a 40-year career in TV, film, and stage. She has won Oliver and Tony Awards for her stage performances. Duncan portrayed the Doctor's ill-fated one-off companion in the David Tennant story, The Waters of Mars, one of the darkest and most gut-wrenching stories in the modern series. And in The Phantom Menace, she voiced TC-14, the Silver Protocol droid who greets Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan at the very start of the film, which means Lindsay Duncan has the distinction of being the first voice you hear from any droid in the entire Star Wars saga. And that's a trivia question answer worth keeping in your back pocket. I told you the big ones were coming, and here they are. Number 17, David Tennant. Now, Tennant is arguably the most popular of the modern actors to play the Time Lord. He starred as the 10th Doctor for 3 seasons between 2005 and 2010. But a Star Wars connection came in Season 5 of The Clone Wars, where he voiced Huyang, an ancient droid professor who's been teaching Jedi younglings to build lightsabers for 1,000 years. He won a Daytime Emmy Award for that role. And then he came back to reprise Huyang in the Ahsoka series. A Doctor in Star Wars, award-winning, doesn't get much bigger than that. Number 18, Tom Baker. To this day, Tom Baker holds the record with the longest-running tenure as the Doctor. The Fourth Doctor graced fans' TV screens for 7 years, from 1974 to 1981. For many fans, myself included, when someone says Doctor Who, Tom Baker's face is what appears in your mind. In Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels, Tom Baker voiced the Bendu, a mysterious Force-sensitive creature who acted as a mentor to the heroes. The Fourth Doctor in the Star Wars universe is a Force entity. I don't know how else you could possibly want the two franchises connecting. So here's the bonus, the one who bends the rules, but we will talk about it. Peter Cushing. He was a beloved actor for decades who excelled at playing heroes and villains alike. He is perhaps most famous for playing Dr. Van Helsing in several Dracula films, opposite his friend Christopher Lee, who also has his own Star Wars legacy. Explaining Cushing's connection to Doctor Who might be confusing to some, and rejected by others as non-canon. But the short version is a big screen adaptation of Doctor Who was made for international audiences in the mid-1960s. Today it would be called a reboot or a reimagining due to it having a different backstory. In these movies, Doctor Who, yes, that was his name, was a human who simply invented the TARDIS. There were no aliens, no laws of time, no Gallifrey, didn't even have the trademark theme music, which that alone makes it an abomination in some fans' minds. 2 films were made, Doctor Who and the Daleks in 1965, and Daleks' Invasion of Earth in 1966. The latter coincidentally starred Bernard Cribbins, who would go on to play Donna Noble's grandfather during the David Tennant years. Literally just about every Star Wars fan in the world recognizes Grand Moff Tarkin. Cushing once stated that his only regret about being in Star Wars was that Tarkin died because he would have loved to have returned to torment the heroes again. So there you have it. 19 actors who have had the memorable roles in Doctor Who and Star Trek, one that breaks the rules. That should provide more than enough material for anybody wanting to have a viewing party. Did we miss any? Sound off in the comments below. Thank you for listening. Give us a like, give us a follow here at Geekville Radio. We are new to YouTube. We are expanding, and we do want you to be part of our journey. So give us a like, give us a subscribe, let us know what we're doing well, let us know what we're not doing well, and we'll talk to you folks in the next episode.